what's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of Jays Banter, your weekly voice of reason for the Toronto Blue Jays. And joining me, as always, my co-host, the runner, founder of Blue Jays Wave, and this podcast, Mo. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, guys. How are you today?
Not bad at all. And also joining us for the second week in a row from TO Sports Talk on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe. James Price. James, how are you, bud?
Doing great. Hearing Stroman might be staying, that makes me feel a lot better.
Yeah, and also from now on, can the Jays only have Sanchez's starts on YouTube? That would be fantastic.
That would be great.
All right, so you mentioned Stroman. We're going to dive right into that today. Marcus Stroman might have made his last start with the Blue Jays last night. He had a dominant outing against the Indians. He went 7 innings, giving up just 1 run on, I believe, 6 hits with 1 walk. Unfortunately, he picked up the loss as Cleveland's pitcher Shane Bieber was just about perfect, as close to perfect as one can be. But nevertheless, an exciting start for Stroman, certainly a very good start for Stroman. And gentlemen, if that was it, if that was the last start for Stroman, what's your lingering thoughts about it?
He went out exactly the way you'd expect, dominant. That's what Stroman's been for the most part of his career as a Blue Jay. He's had that year where he couldn't stay healthy and whatnot. But other than that, Marcus Stroman has been one of the most dominant pitchers for the Jays consistently over the past, I don't know, you can go back to 15 even when he came up in September. But you couldn't have pictured it any better. I mean, ideally, having him get the win and get maybe even a shutout would have been perfect. But 7 innings of 1-run ball, that's pretty much Marcus Stroman in my eyes. It was a perfect ending if it is the end.
Yeah, against a good Cleveland team on the rise. It was a nice start by Marcus Stroman. He went 7 innings, giving up only 5 hits with 1 earned run allowed and only 1 walk, which was a great ending off if it is his last start as a Blue Jay in Toronto. What was so great about this start was it was in Toronto. You saw the standing ovation at the end of the game, and you just saw Marcus pour his heart out for the team. And it'd be really nice if we can extend Marcus, but we'll just hope for the best and just take it day by day.
To be quite honest with you, I feel sad, to be honest, because that might have been his last start, but I also feel proud for Marcus Stroman. I mean, we like Marcus Stroman. We obviously love him on this program, but I mean, let's face it, Marcus Stroman hasn't always exactly been, always been PR friendly. He's a guy who really started from the bottom, was a first-round pick of the Blue Jays in 2012, but he got suspended really quickly in his career. And following an impressive rookie year, he got injured for that 2015 season, really struggled to get back, but ended up working hard and being a huge contributor to that 2015 and 2016 playoff runs. Then, of course, the injury he sustained last season, pretty much making his whole season a wash. And it's good for him to come back from all the injuries, from all the setbacks he's had, and not exactly being the most loved guy on the national stage because of his personality and some controversial tweets that he may have had. But nevertheless, he was able to shut that all off this year and pitch to his full potential. And man, he's been extremely impressive. And one way or another, if he does end up getting traded, you should expect a pretty nice return. For him. Am I right by saying that?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we've heard all the reports about the Jays looking for a Chris Archer type of haul back, and I think you should expect that. They're kind of around the same wavelength. I mean, Chris Archer's awful this year in Pittsburgh, but as for Marcus Stroman and when they were traded, you got to expect something along those lines. And I mean, I don't know if we talked about it last week, but they got Austin Meadows, they got Tyler Glasnow, they got some really good pieces back now. As you said, it would be really sad to see him go. I couldn't agree more. I want him to be a Blue Jay for his career. He bleeds Canada. He guy's got a tattoo of the city on him. I mean, I'm just hoping that Shapiro and Atkins see it the way we do and the way he sees it, and it all comes together.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And speaking of Marcus and what was it on about? Just lost my train of thought right there.
Sorry, what?
What were you guys talking about just now? I just lost my train of thought.
I guess just his overall dedication to the city and how much he meant to this team and this city the past few years and how sad it would be to see him go, but nevertheless, tip of the cap to him.
Right. And the package for for Chris Archer. Yeah, I was reading a report the other day, and it looked like the Jays are expecting a package along the lines of what the Rays got in return for Chris Archer, but I feel like they won't get that. And I was reading a stat which said that Chris Archer accumulated more of a WAR in his tenure with the Tampa Bay Rays more than Marcus Stroman, and he had more arbitration eligibility at the end of the season, had more years of control than Marcus Stroman. But the Tampa Bay Rays took a flyer on Austin Meadows, who was really rough in a AAA, I believe it was last year. So they took a chance on Austin Meadows last year, and it worked out in their favor as he was an all-star this year for the Tampa Bay Rays. And it looked like Tyler Glasnow was about to be an all-star with his 1.8 ERA in I believe it was first 8 stars. And he wasn't very good last year. He was known to be a high-walk guy. And they even got, I believe his last name is Baz. They got a solid, who is their 5th best prospect in their system. They got a solid return for Chris Archer. And the Jays, which I won't spoil my bold prediction on where I feel like the package he will get in front of them. I feel like the Jays could get a similar package for Chris Archer, but you should expect the Jays to prioritize pitching, as their pitching in the minor leagues could certainly use a boost and to contribute right away for next season, 2020.
Yeah, absolutely. Pitching is something that the Blue Jays certainly need. Their position player depth in the minor leagues is very impressive, but they certainly need to build on their young pitching, and that's sort of our segue into this next segment. Young pitching, and they got one of the guys who I guess they think can fill that void for them long term. Ryan Borucki coming back, made his first start Monday against the Cleveland Indians. His line, not all that impressive. Went 4 2/3 innings pitched, 7 hits, 4 runs, only 2 earned, 3 walks, and 3 strikeouts and 4 walks. I say it's not all that impressive because he only threw 94 pitches, and I'm saying that because only half of those were strikes. He threw 47 balls, 47 strikes. That's not a very good ratio at all. But some positives out of it was that he was able to throw those pitches relatively pain-free, it seems. I mean, he did have that issue with his pinky finger bleeding a bit, but he was able to make it to the start and all in one piece, which for his first start of the season, first start in just under a year, not all that terrible. And he's slated to start Saturday against the Rays. What did you guys think of Borucki's start?
I thought, as the game went along, he started to find himself a little bit better. I thought there was quite a few fielding mistakes as for the Blue Jays as well. But you got to look at Borucki, right? Hasn't pitched, and as you said, like almost a year now, and hasn't pitched a lot in the minor leagues. I don't know how many starts he had throughout his rehab back. But no matter what, you're coming in facing an absolutely scorching hot Cleveland Indians team. You haven't faced them at all. You haven't been on the big league mound in almost a year. So for Ryan Borucki, I give him kind of a pass for this one. I'm really intrigued to see what he's going to do in this start against Tampa, though, a team that's fighting for their playoff lives. Kind of what Cleveland was about, but now it's his second start. Now it's your second start back at the big league level. You got Danny Jansen, your buddy, behind the dish. What are you going to look like in your next start? But again, like I said, there were spurts where he looked good. I forgot who he struck out on 3 pitches, all changeups. They were all good. They were all biting hard. And again, there were a few things that walking 4 guys in 4 innings ain't very good. But I just think it's going to be a matter of time before Ryan Borucki finds that form he had last season.
Yeah, it was a weird start for Ryan Borucki in spring, as we expected him to come in after a solid season last year, which I believe he had a 3.86 ERA, if I'm not mistaken, last year with the Blue Jays. And we're expecting him to be a strong starter for the Blue Jays this year, maybe even be a third starter behind Stroman and Sanchez. And obviously, we got to see Stroman and Sanchez, but Borucki had an injury in spring, I believe, and that kept him silent. An estimated timetable for him was end of April. We came to end of April, and he was still injured. We went to May, and he was still injured. Fast forward all the way to the end of July, where Ryan Borucki is back, and he was the best thing about the Blue Jays rotation last year, undoubtedly. So it's nice to see Ryan back on the mound again. It was a fresh start for him. It was fresh seeing a new pitcher on the mound from the left side, as we haven't seen a pitcher of that quality yet. And it's to expect. You shouldn't expect him to have a very good first start, especially after coming back from injury, and he didn't have many rehab starts in Buffalo. He even had some rough rehab starts with Buffalo. So to say that you're expecting him to be lights out in his first start was a bit of an overstatement, in my opinion. But moving forward, I believe Ryan Parecki will be a big part of this team. And he should slide it right in that third spot of the rotation. And he's a power lefty base who has a lot of finesse in his pitches, as James mentioned. Those changeups were incredibly elite that he pitched. Yeah, I believe it was... I forget off the top of my head, but it was just great to see Ryan Berkey out on the mound again, and hopefully next start against Tampa Bay, he does better than the last one, but it's nice to see him on the mound for sure.
It's also good to remember that we say that he had a bit of a disappointing start, or actually I said that to specify, but overall he wasn't terrible at all on the mound. I mean, he was 1 out away from going 5 innings, giving up 2 earned runs. That's not all that shabby. If you work that out to an ERA, from an ERA, it'd be an ERA under 4, which is, certainly not shabby at all. So I think baby steps, and hopefully next start will be better. And as James, as you mentioned, against a good Rays team, a team that's fallen on some hard times and trying to get back in the playoffs, there'll be no better test than that on Saturday at the Rogers Center. That's going to be really exciting to see. And on that Rays series, Aaron Sanchez also will get a start there, and I think this is the first time, since we've been doing this podcast, that we can come in with a positive Aaron Sanchez report. He started Tuesday against Cleveland, as we mentioned. It was on the YouTube game. Not a lot of people might have caught it, but that was a game to watch for the Blue Jays. 5 innings for Sanchez, gave up just 5 hits, 1 run, that was 1 earned run, struck out 6 batters, and had 0 walks. And I'll just repeat that again. 0 walks. And I have a trick question. Sorry, not a trick question. Kind of spoiled it, but this is the first time all year that he has 0 walks and 66% strike percentage. Really impressive start. So, guys, you can't help but be really impressed with the start. It was really a positive thing about Aaron Sanchez. Not something that we've been able to say the last few months, I guess.
And I wouldn't even say it's just the walks that's been, hurting him. It's getting behind in the counts. I think it was at the very least 3/4 of the first pitches he threw in that ball game were first pitch strikes. Getting ahead in the count, people don't think about, it's only strike 1, you still have 2 more. Yeah, but you're putting that hitter in a defense mechanism early on in the at-bat. You get down 2-0, 2-1, you got to come back in the count. And watching Aaron Sanchez throw first pitch strikes and then being able to throw that curveball and get it down and watching it all go to work, it's incredible what first pitch strikes do to you. You watch a guy like Marcus Stroman and watch him pitch every day, or every 5 days, I guess, and watching him deal, it's incredible. So seeing Aaron Sanchez out there throwing first pitch strikes and not walking guys, it led to an incredible outing. It's against, as we've continued to say, a really good Cleveland Indians ball club who is really confident right now.
Yeah, Aaron Sanchez looked like a beast out there, undoubtedly so, and it was nice to see Aaron Sanchez pounding in those first pitch strikes, and his curveball was really nasty that day. He was setting the hitters up with a nice high fastball, then would finish them off with a nice curveball. I believe that a bat to Jake Bauers really stood out to me, where he struck him out, and then he did some Marcus Stroman-esque celebration on the mound. But yeah, it was nice to see Aaron Sanchez really getting to his own. And guys, it was like a pitcher's duel. Trevor Bauer versus Aaron Sanchez. Who would have thought that? Aaron Sanchez in a pitcher's duel this season, with the season he's had.
It was interesting. I was watching the game, and it seemed as though that taking him out after 5 innings was the right decision, even though he had only thrown 80 pitches. But now I'm looking back at it, looking at the numbers standpoint, not really remembering much from the actual game itself. 5 innings, threw 80 pitches, 53 of them were strikes, as I mentioned, at 66% strike percentage. Didn't walk a batter. Do you think that maybe Charlie took him out a little earlier? Just by looking at the numbers, looked like he could have gone another inning. What did you guys think of the decision to take him out? Would you say it was the right call?
I actually mentioned that in the video I posted. I said how 5 innings of 80 pitches. This guy has not thrown a good start in 2 months. Let the guy go. He's trying to match Trevor Bauer for pitch. And the fact that he was just dealing out there, everything was working. Again, he was only